Okay, on to passage 2, how baby talk gives infant brains a boost. Now, before we get started, I just want to say I'm going over a lot of these things quite quickly because I've assumed that you've done Cambridge 11 and 12. I started this YouTube channel with Cambridge 12, and then I did Cambridge 11, and then I did 13, because 13 came out later. So I don't want to repeat myself too much. It's okay if you haven't done 11 and 12. You can just do 13, but do go and do 11 and 12 as well. So in this, the reason I'm saying that in this passage, I'm going to focus on something new. I like to try and teach you something new with every passage that we do. So I will be going over the other things quite quickly just to focus on something new. Now, what is that new thing? That is that there are often passages, especially passage 2 and 3, where they deal with a bunch of studies. And it's good to know, to recognize those passages and recognize the structure of them. I'll explain why later. For example, this one, how baby talk gives infant brains a boost. They are discussing various studies. So there's the first one, according to a new study. This is another one. The study found that, so that's the second study. Another study suggests, so that's the third one, and then in a study published, so that's the fourth one. So the structure of this passage is that they have done an introduction in paragraphs A and B, and then they've gone on to discuss 4 studies, which is quite common, especially in passages 2 and 3. Now, the second thing I want you to focus on in this passage is that very often you can divide the study into 2 parts: the description of the study and the results of the study. And when you read the question, you can often see, is this question about the description of the study, or is this question about the results of the study? For example, here they just introduce it all. This will be important. They giving you the topic sentence and giving you important information related to the study. Then they introduce it, but here is where they're just describing the study. They're telling you what they did. And then here you see language like that kind of thing. We found that, it was seen that, and that goes on to the results of the study. And then very often with the questions you can see if they're asking about the description or are they asking about the results, and that can save you time. Exactly the same thing happens over here. They collected all of these, parents and babies, and that's what they did. Description of the study found that. And that's the results of the study. Great. I'll stop talking about that. Let's get on with it. We've got matching people with what. Definitely focus on that. This doesn't really help us very much because idea, it's a very general word. If it's statements, it's nice because you only look at what they said. But here, an idea. It could be what they said. It could be what they thought. It could be anything connected with them. So actually, it doesn't help us this much. Then we've got a summary and match the paragraph. So we're going to probably do this one first, then this one, and then that one last. Right, let's get into it. So quickly do the grammar. I'm just going to, maybe you want to pause the video because I'm not going to discuss it too much. I'm just going to write in here what the grammar is. So pause the video. Alright, if you haven't done it yet, please go and watch my grammar video about reading gap fills and how the grammar can help you. So very quickly, this one, there was nothing, no or in there, so this is the most common thing, the plural or the uncountable. This one, you really needed to notice that and that, because that told you these pronouns, they are referring to this subject of this clause, and they are plural, first of all, and secondly, they are people. You could even take it further and say it's their baby, so it must be people who have babies. So it must be mothers or fathers or parents, something like that. Here, that tells us nothing, doesn't help us. This could be anything. This belongs to the baby, so it could be anything. I often just do a test. Can you say the baby's tree, the baby's dog? Yes. Can you say the baby's dogs? Yes. Can you say the baby's coffee? Uncountable? Yes. So they all fit. Again, that's the normal one. Then this one we had a over there, so this is probably a singular. Great. Then you're going to find that and that, which is quite straightforward. That's over there and that's over there. So we know, we're very confident that it's paragraphs C and D. Then we can just get into it. Researchers used something together with specialized computer programs to analyze how parents interacted with their babies during a normal day. Is it description of the study or is it results of the study? Of course, it's description of the study. So that's the description of the study. Here it says we found that, that's results. So our answer is somewhere in here. Specialized computer programs, let's find the computer programs. And the specialized computer programs is there. Software, computer programs, direct synonym. We're looking for a plural or an uncountable, and there's only one thing it can be, and it's the recording devices. Recording devices and computer programs, software. Recording devices together with computer program software. And then if you just look at this, to analyze how parents interacted with their babies during a normal day, it's almost exactly the same. To study the way they interacted, they as parents with their youngsters, their babies during a normal day, exactly the same. So really very straightforward, recording devices. Shouldn't have too many problems with that. Right, the study revealed that, okay, into the results of the study, and then this one really we should be able to find it quite easily. Please notice the negative. The negative often helps you. Tended not to modify. I hope you know what modify means. Modify means to change. Tended not to modify their ordinary speech patterns when interacting with their babies. Who did not change their speech patterns? We found that moms do what you'd expect, but often important information after but. We found that dads aren't doing the same thing. Dads didn't raise their pitch. Dads aren't, there's the negative again. They didn't modify their speech when they talk to kids. So we're looking for a plural person. I see moms, I see dads. The negative is here. Dads didn't modify it, so the answer must be dads. Again, not too bad. Great. According to an idea known as the. Now this I always like to highlight. That often gives you a clue. Please remember all the synonyms for this. Known as, is called, is referred to as, is termed. Those are the four main ones. What is known as? An idea known as the. Can you see the known as? And there it is over there, is called. What is it called? The bridge hypothesis. So really, if you saw the known as, is called, it's very straightforward again. They may use, according to the researchers, hearing baby talk from one parent and normal language from the other parent expands the baby's something of types of speech which they can practice. One parent, another parent expands the baby's. So we're going to be over here probably. Be careful with these summaries. They can go back sometimes. They do it, especially reading 3. But we will start here. Certain kind of speech with mom, another kind of speech with dad. So that's one parent and another parent. Can you see something about expands? Expands means to get bigger, to make it bigger. The only thing we can really see is it's wider, bigger, expands, close enough. But another big help is of kinds of speech, is right there, of types of speech. So expands, something of types of speech. Even if you don't know what the word means, you can guess that it's going to be that one. Next paragraph. Here again, description of the experiment, the study. And here they found that this results of the study. So we're looking in the description of the study. They recorded speech and sound using special something that the babies were equipped with. So it's going to be some kind of equipment. What did they record the speech and sound with? Here's the results of the study. So we're just over here. They collect thousands of conversations between parents and babies, fitting 26 children with audio recording vests that captured language and sound. So where's the equipment that they used? What captured the language and the sound? Remember, we're looking for a plural or an uncountable. Where's the plural or uncountable? Conversations? No, that didn't capture it. Vests? Yes, that's exactly what captured it. And there's no other plurals or uncountables that I can see. So hopefully quite straightforward. You can see that that's what they used to do the recording, audio recording vests. And finally, we're looking for a singular. Those who had heard baby talk, those who's talking about babies, had much larger something than those who had not. And now we run into a slight problem. I'll explain to you why, because I'm telling you you should be looking for a singular. We also want much larger. That's also always a nice thing to look for. So it's actually somewhere over here. It could be anywhere. We also found that. I think the best way to go about it is to look for much larger. And the babies again at age 2. You can't really paraphrase age 2. Remember, with these summaries, I'm going very quickly, but it's a really good idea to try and find all of the bits and pieces in between, because it really helps you to find where you are. So this one really helped us to find this sentence where we should be looking, because there it is over there. So this is what we want. This was a very key piece of scanning language, and I'll just repeat it. In these summaries, find all of the language that you can. It really directs you to the answer. So they found that. Can you see anything about larger? And it's actually this. They had much larger. Their vocabulary was boosted. But the problem is there's no we were looking for a singular. And the reason is this writer has used vocabulary here as uncountable. IELTS has used the word vocabulary here as singular countable. Now, first of all, is vocabulary countable or uncountable? I've gone on the internet. It seems that it's better to use it as countable, but you can use it as countable as well. It's just one of those words where there's a bit of confusion. And then secondly, is it okay for IELTS to do this? It's uncountable in the passage, so surely they should use it as uncountable in the questions. I think it's not fair that they change it to countable, but remember, IELTS can do whatever they want, so they use it as countable. So the answer there is vocabulary. A couple of things to take away from that. This helped us find the right sentence. This was the synonym for boosted. And then just remember, these grammar rules, 90% of the time, they help you. You will find once or twice when IELTS has changed the grammar a little bit, but don't let those worry you. They're very rare. Stick with the grammar rules. Okay, so I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 there would have been reasonable. All right, we're going to move on to this matching the people with the idea. Now, normally we would just immediately go and scan for these, but I want you to try something a little bit different, which often helps you. We've done it a little bit before, which is that the summary can often help you with other question types. Summaries are very important because what IELTS has done is they have summarized the key language and they've shown you what they think is important, and then often this pops up in other questions. So before we go and scan for these, let's just try this and see if you can do it. You can't always do it. It's not always there, and sometimes it's a bit difficult, but give it a try. So read the summary, maybe pause the video, read the summary again, and then go and read these questions and see if you can find anything. Right, so you've read the summary, you've read these questions. Did you make any connections? The importance of adults giving babies individual attention when talking to them. The connection between, so maybe we were looking for individual attention there. The connection between what babies hear and their own efforts to create speech. The advantage for the baby of having two parents each speaking in a different way. And the connection between the amount of baby talk babies hear and how much vocalizing they do themselves. There were actually two that I saw that are in the summary. The advantage for the baby of having two parents each speaking in a different way is over here. Hearing baby talk from one parent and normal language from the other parent expands the baby's repertoire of types of speech. The advantage is that it expands the repertoire. So one parent talks one way, another parent talks another way, and that is over there. And then that will help us to find that that is this paragraph C, we know that from the summary, and paragraph C was Van Dam. So I would guess that the answer to that must be Van Dam A. Another one, how much they hear and how much vocalizing they do themselves. Those who had heard a lot of baby talk had a much larger vocabulary. Just a paraphrase exactly of that. That's paragraph D, and paragraph D was this guy over here, or this woman. So I would think that 17 is B. If you can do that, that's great. But let's do it the normal way and go and find these and see if we can match a few things up. Right, so I'm just going to remove all of that color. Then we're scanning for Mark Van Dam, Nairon Ramirez Esparza, and Patricia Kuhl. We know Mark Van Dam is over here. Check that they introduce him. So that is the first time they mention him. Is Nairon. You must scan through this, but we see that it's Linda Polko. It's not what we're looking for. Co-author Patricia Kuhl. Even this is an introduction. So that's the only time they mention her. Great. Then you want to read these very carefully. Try and get these to stick in your mind. Individual attention. What babies hear. Own efforts to create speech. Two parents speaking a different way. Amount of babies talk. How much vocalizing they do themselves. So we're not going to be really looking in description of the study. We're going to be looking at what they say, what they think. So unfortunately, you have to kind of read this whole thing quite quickly. And as I mentioned earlier, it's over here. They've paraphrased quite a lot. That's what makes these difficult, is the paraphrase. There's no real easy way to find it. You needed to kind of read through all of that with all of those phrases in your head. But we saw that this one is probably this one, two parents speaking in a different way. So 16 is A. It's probably that over there. Right? Then this woman is over here, and it starts over there where she talks. So it's somewhere over there probably. Those who listen to a lot were talking more than the babies that listen to more adult talk. Listen to a lot of baby talk were talking more than the ones that listen to adult talk. We also found where they use baby talk in a one-on-one context. The more parents use babies talk one-on-one, the more babies babble. So they've repeated that, and that's pretty important. Can you see that? One-on-one means individual attention. It really matters, it's really important, individual attention. Again, difficult paraphrase, you had to narrow it. It was going to be in there somewhere, one of these, right? Anything else? Let's see what Patricia Kuhl says. Starts over here. Finding activation motor areas of the brain means the baby brain is engaged. 7-month-old brains, something about brains, find the right movements. I can't remember anything, so we've got to continue reading what they hear and their own efforts and how much they talk, how much they do themselves. And it was down over here. It's starting to get very difficult. So I would just skip her. That's quite difficult with what she's saying. Let's find the other one. We've done this one. That was B. And we've done this one. That was A. So can we find the amount that they talk? Yes, we saw it in the summary. The amount that they talk and how much vocalizing they do themselves. It was actually back here. Those children who listen to a lot were talking more than the babies to listen to more adult speech. So that was also B. So then that one must be C. You could probably guess if you can find the other three, but it's over here. Connection, what they hear and their own efforts. Own efforts is that they worked harder at the motor activations of these sounds is what they hear. Very difficult one, but you could have probably guessed it. So that would have been C then. All right. But anyway, maybe you could have gotten 16 and 17 just from the summary. Now I need to move a bit quicker. This video is getting a bit long, so I'm just going to go through these quite quickly. Strategy-wise, we haven't used this paragraph at all, and we haven't used these two paragraphs at all. So we're going to start with those three when we're looking for these things over here. Reference to a change in a baby's brain before the end of their first year. Before the end of their first year. It's always nice to scan for time because we can understand the paraphrase. I do remember seeing a lot of brain over here. There's brain everywhere. So that one might be there, but we're going to try and find the other two. What some parents do for their babies before birth. That's interesting, before birth. A mention of babies' preference for the sound that other babies make. And I'll just show you where they are. Remember, you will look in A and B, and what was it? A, B, and E. What do parents do before birth? Parents play classical music to their pregnant, while the mother is still pregnant with the baby, they play classical music. Still in the womb means still in the mother's stomach. So that one is A. You could find it quite quickly because you start scanning at A. Baby's preference for sounds that other babies make, and baby's brain activity. Now I saw brain, so I want to go to E actually. I want to go there now. Before the end of their first year is a good thing to look for. Brain region, total of age group 7 months and 11.5 months. 11.5 months, that's first year is 12 months. Before the end of their first is 11.5 months. At this stage I've got enough. I won't even find it. I know there's a lot of brain everywhere and I've got the time period. I would just guess that one is F. Then the last one, a mention of baby's preference for the sound that other babies make. So it's probably B or E. It could be the other ones, but let's look at B. Studies babies bilingual, sweet infant, question, studies, no, nothing. And E, the sounds that other babies make. Babies seem to like listening to each other rather than adults. To prefer other babies to each other. So that would be E. Not too bad. Okay, great. Any questions, please put them in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Let's get on to passage 3.